Hey, this is Wolf, and we're here today in episode 1 to take you on a guided tour of our property. Come join us. So here we are at the back of the yard, and look what's just over my shoulder here. A drain. Now the difference between a drain and a creek is that a drain is man-made. It probably wouldn't make that much of a difference, but it makes a huge difference when it comes to development around the area. Anyways, let's see what else we can go on and find. Over my shoulder here, you will see a wind mover. Now this is not a traditional turbine to generate power, but what it's designed to do is to keep those crops behind me, which are all grapes, or cash crops, or tender crops, depending on your name you know them, to make sure that during a frost, when the frost starts to settle down onto the fruit, that thing moves the air around, stops the frost from going. Now unfortunately, there's a significant amount of controversy surrounding them, but that's not for this video. As you can see behind me, we have the rubbish pile. Unfortunately, when you have a lot of empty land here in the Niagara region, what happens is people take the opportunity to dump their rubbish all over the place. Unfortunately, most of this contains nails and metal, pieces of doors, things like that, things that we can't burn very readily. So unfortunately, it's just going to sit here and rot till the landowners come and fix it up and remove it, or of course they do try to burn it and then just cover up the metal and nails and anything else that stays when they're finished. Behind me here is the woods. Now this woods, although it may look like a bunch of trees, provides important habitat for things like red-tailed hawks and owls and mice and all sorts of other things. It's a complete miniature ecosystem built up all around us, even though we don't really take much notice of it. So let's continue on our trip, see what else we can find. So this sign right here says, "No hunting." And although we do have evidence of people who have hunted here, it is specifically posted that we don't. In Canada, no trespassing or no hunting is simplified by the small red circle in the middle of a white sign. Leaving the no hunting sign and taking a look around, what we come across is one of Niagara region's largest greenhouses. These greenhouses cover quite a few acres of land, and you can see them back there in all their glory. They produce fruit and vegetables and flowers for us that we wouldn't normally be able to acquire in these terrible, horrible Canadian winters. Being as this is woods, we do have evidence of life here. Potentially rabbit tracks, being as we have two rear tracks and that are quite long, as well as short front tracks. You can see that they seem to go off into the distance, but they do come out of the woods and over along this tree line just to see if there's any food here. What we have here is a series of large round bales. Now these hay bales are done by machine instead of by hand, which gives them their round appearance. These particular ones have just been made out of field grass and aren't really that useful for feeding to cattle. But what they are useful for is things like your garden and sheds and anything that you want to cover and make sure that you keep the frost off in winter. So let's travel on, see what else we can find. So now what you can see behind me is we've come up to another section of that public drain. So now our biggest challenge is to get us through that drain and to the other side. Thankfully in winter, everything's all frozen, so it won't be that big of a job. that wasn't so hard now, was it? So behind me, what we can see is a deer blind. What this is used for is people who like to come out here and hunt, even though it does say no trespassing, and they can hide from the deer, let them think that there's nothing around, and then as soon as they get near, bam, they're dead. Let's go over there and have a look at it, shall we? So climbing up this blind, I can actually see that it's kind of rickety and very poorly put together, but I suppose in an emergency it will do what it was designed to do and allow you to hide from the deer. Let's take a look now, see what we can see from the inside out. Understanding the concept of the deer blind, you'll notice that on a nice rotation, we can see all the way around. We're pretty much camouflaged. Now in the background, I'm sure you can hear traffic and noise. That's from our local Highway 55, also known as Niagara Stone Road. This is one of my favorite parts of this journey. As you can see, there's been a pathway cut through these trees behind me that leads into the property ahead of us. Now, although it's beautiful in winter, and this is a winter hike in January of 2011, you'll find that in the summertime, when the leaves create the canopy overhead, it's even more stunningly beautiful than it is today. Let's take a quick run through this, and I'll meet you on the other side. So there we are, we made it through the forest. Now behind me, you can see more property, and further off into the distance, you can see Highway 55. That's the actual car noise that you can hear rumbling by. So we're going to continue on our hike now. We're going to head towards home and see what we can find. It shows up on film very well, but this is what I like to call Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Unfortunately, although he is a beautiful pine, what you'll notice is that all of his pine needles are missing, and he's all bit out of shape. He's kind of nice, but certainly wouldn't do for a house. Anyways, let's continue on, see what else we can find. Just over my shoulder there, you can see that's my house. So we've made it about a kilometer and a half out on the hike today. So now we just have the final leg of our journey to head home. There isn't too much else interesting to see, but either way, we've got to go back that way. Journey. As you can see over my shoulder, it's just shortly where we started, next to the rubbish pile. Directly behind us is the air mover device that we spoke about that causes a lot of controversy here in Niagara-on-the-Lake. So that's all for now, but thank you for tuning into this episode of Around the House.